5, 4, 3. Actually, that's a good call.
I got a whole cup. I'm ready to go, dude.
Yeah.
I got my bottles of wine right here, too.
Michael Gilbert, dude,
Eric.
I'm super excited to have you on my podcast. Thanks very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. I know we've kind of been playing tag for a couple weeks. I'm glad that we could finally make it happen.
Yeah, no problem. The first thing I wanted to talk about was, look, I've said this on the podcast before, so people have seen me or heard me say this. I used to think that being a motorcycle rider or racer, a professional racer, was the coolest job in the world. Okay, and
Yep.
then I heard about you, and then I thought about it, and I go, you know what? No. I think Mike has the best job in the world.
Yeah. You know, I'm very fortunate to have the job I have, and to those watching, I work at Cycle World magazine as road test editor. So essentially, my job comes down to testing motorcycles, organizing, conducting, executing all these tests, and I'm very fortunate, as I say, to be able to fly around the world and ride some pretty cool places on some pretty cool machines, and get to share it with all you guys as well.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Now, what's also cool is you also do a bit of racing, and you were just at Road America.
That's right. Yeah, I've been racing MotoAmerica full time for the last 5 or 6 years. And so I think this is actually my sixth season. So we just got done with Road America 2. I got a coworker in here giving me grief. So yeah, we just got done with Road America 2, second race of the 2020 season, and seemed to go pretty okay. And we'll keep plugging and see what we can get done by the end of the season.
Now, I would say is a little bit better than just okay. I mean, you came in third. Obviously, it's not first place, but it's by no means a poor result given the conditions of COVID and everything else.
Yep.
What is it like to finally be racing in front of fans? Was that finally good?
It was nice. It was nice. Obviously, the first Road America, we didn't have fans. Going to Road America, it was a strange feeling because usually that's our biggest draw of the year, outside of maybe Coda with MotoGP or Laguna Seca with World Superbike when they were coming to Monterey with us. So going to Road America without fans was a unique feeling. Obviously, the first round we did not have the fans. The second round we did. The first round kind of being hectic and last minute, and everything's kind of that last minute prep. It was, in a sense, a relief to be able to just focus on ourselves and focus on our teams and just kind of do what we needed to do. And then obviously the second round, we're supposed to be a little bit more calm. My weekend wasn't so calm, but it was nice to see people at the racetrack, and it was quite a big draw and nice weather, and see people smiling and enjoying racing again. It was great.
Yeah, that's nice. Now, before we got on the podcast, we had text a little bit, and you sent me a picture of something that broke. I am mechanically inept. I have no idea what broke. What happened?
Yeah. So, at Road America, we were kind of struggling with some issues all weekend. We had a little bit of electronic issues, and we had thought we had finally got that sorted, and we decided to race the Superbike race on Saturday as testing. Now I'm in Super Stock 1000, or Stock 1000 as they call it, and so we raced on Sunday. That was the primary race that I'm there for.
Right.
But we decided to use the Superbike race just to get a little more track time and kind of get ourselves up to speed before we raced on Sunday. So anyways, a lap into the Superbike race, I had an engine let go. And I sent you a picture of the connecting rod sticking through the cases.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a headache on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and my guys stayed late at the track putting a new motor in and getting us dialed in for Sunday. And I owe it all to them that we raced and were able to bring home a podium Sunday afternoon.
Now, I spoke with Rob Silva in a previous podcast, and he says he can put an engine together in half an hour.
An engine in, maybe. I kind of doubt. Maybe. Yeah. The good guys, they are really good at this stuff. I'm not so much of a mechanic.
Right.
I I should probably just let other people handle that. I don't want to be making mistakes and getting yelled at and doing things wrong. Yeah, no, the talented mechanics in the paddock, they can get it done pretty quick. It's impressive.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy because I'm like, I don't know, man. It takes me like 3 hours to do like an oil change and a coolant change, right? Like it literally takes me 3 hours.
You and I both. You and I both. It's bad.
If you held a gun to my head and you're like, tell me where the clutch is and the clutch basket is, I'd be like, just shoot me. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm ready
yeah.
to die.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm kind of in the same boat with that stuff for sure.
Mike, sorry, I had internet problems. I had to reboot my router.
That's all good. It happens. It happens.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was asking earlier was the difference between a privateer and racing for a team. Obvious benefits. You get to call your shots, but what are the downsides, if any?
I mean, I think I racing, it depends on what kind of team you're racing for too. I think that obviously being a privateer and being a factory racer, there's a big difference there. Factory racers get to show up and they're getting big paychecks, and really all they have to do is worry about riding, and a lot of things are really taken care of for them. That also comes with some pressure. I think I've never quite been in that position, but I have to assume that it's not as easy as it seems. Um, so being a privateer, it's a little bit of a scramble to make it to each race, funding and ordering all the parts that we broke, like kind of having a hand in just about anything, um, things that factory racers don't necessarily have to worry about. So I think that there's a little bit more stress, but I also feel like maybe you're getting rewarded a little bit more when it does all work out and we have some success and get on the podiums too. So I think it's a little bittersweet, but at the end of the day, we all love racing motorcycles, and it adds to it for sure.
Yeah, so one of the things I've always been interested in this podcast, I've explored it with multiple people, is the ability for guys like yourselves to be able to multitask
Hmm.
uh, exquisitely. Like
Hmm.
honestly, because what you do in your day job behind you with all the bikes, that's
Yep.
already a full-time job,
Yep.
okay? I can imagine the immense pressure that there is on your shoulders to get articles out in a timely manner.
Hmm.
You know, let's be honest, in 2020, it's really hard to have a magazine when there's news anywhere and everywhere, right?
Right.
How do you keep it all together without drinking that bottle of wine that you showed me like 10 seconds ago?
um, no, I mean you're right. It is it. I always like to say I live a high performance lifestyle, HPL. Um, no, it's just plugging away, and my day job is my day job, and I really do try and separate working at Cycle World and racing motorcycles as best as I can. It does become difficult because between racing and Cycle World, and I also do a little bit of coaching with Jason Pridmore, JP43 training. Doing that on the weekends, it really does become 7 days a week.
Wow.
And to me, I really enjoy all of it. But even when you enjoy it, it is work. And so, honestly, how I keep it together is escaping from it, going and riding bicycles and just, and bicycles is kind of what I really enjoy doing outside of motorcycles. So, to put my phone in my back pocket and not have anyone really bother me for 3 or 4 or 5 hours at a time, it's that to me is kind of what holds me together a little bit. So but yeah, high pressure and a lot going on all the time, it seems.
Yeah, it feels like, like 99% of the racers, if not everybody I've ever met that's raced a motorcycle, have always said that cycling, whether it be, street, like, street cycling, like
Yep.
speed cycling or mountain biking or
Yep.
trials riding, that everybody says that's my escape.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's two wheels. So I think that
Right.
we're all kind of drawn to it, and it's great for your fitness for being on a motorcycle, and some things relate. And I think that all the competitive aspect in each and every one of us, that comes into play too, of wanting to prove ourselves against each other off a motorcycle as well as on. Um, Personally, I just like riding bicycles. I have a lot of friends, that ride bicycles at a high level, and to be able to hang out with them and go to the velodrome, and spend some time down there. Like, I say it all the time. Like if I wasn't doing this full time, I'd probably be doing that much, much, much more.
Right.
And it seems like as soon as I get off the flight Monday morning, when I come back from the races, I'm getting on a bicycle. And the last thing I'm doing before I get on a flight is I'm on a bicycle. So it's a lot of fun for me for sure.
Yeah. Have you ridden like a proper electric bicycle? Not the new e-bikes or the, just the electric bicycles. Are they a thing
Uh,
with you?
I'm slightly confused. E-bikes, it's actually kind of funny. We have an e-bike media outlet here in the Bonnier office
Okay.
called Cycle Volta. So we have e-mountain bikes, e-road bikes.
Right.
Uh, I've never ridden a complete electric powered two-wheel. I
Mm.
guess I take that back. I've ridden the Harley Davidson Livewire and the Zero SRF, which are electric motorcycles, but not a full-blown electric powered bicycle.
Okay. Yeah, because now that I've grown up, and for the longest time I was too broke to have anything other than a bicycle. So all through high school, university, I only had a bicycle. And I'm like, dang, if I had like an electric bicycle back in the day, I'd be so much happier.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
No, it's quite cool because I think, the electric bicycle thing, it's interesting to see because you see people that maybe won't be on traditional bicycles and now they're out on two wheels and enjoying the outdoors and getting a little bit of activity in. Especially during this whole COVID thing, I've seen tens and hundreds of people out on the bike trails just riding. And it's nice to, sometimes it's a little crowded and we want to keep our pace up, but it is nice at the end of the day to see people out being active and enjoying the fresh air.
yeah, I was listening to another podcast, Brendan Schaub. He's a famous ex UFC fighter, and he's right now big into biking, like mountain
Okay.
biking. And he was telling me that he actually got a ticket out in California. I don't remember where exactly
Okay.
for riding his bicycle. And he's like, bro, there's like literally nobody else in the
Yeah.
middle of this. Like I'm in the middle of this trail in the middle of nowhere. The only three people that are here is you and me, right?
Right.
And he
Right.
got a
Yeah.
like an
I mean, I know
$800
that
ticket.
there's different categories of e-bikes and some are restricted, some aren't, some go, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like
Yeah.
21 mile an hour with pedal assist, and then they go all the way up to 28, and then some even beyond that. So yeah, I think you could totally get busted for sure.
Actually, he got busted for just being out there because
Oh,
of
really?
coronavirus and everything else. Yeah, yeah. They're like, you're not supposed to be on this trail. And he's like, why not? Yeah, because of COVID-19. He's like, dude, there's nobody out here. Like,
Wow,
what's the
that's
problem?
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the whole COVID thing. It was almost a little contradictory because you see all these people and they're all out on the trail, but the trail is just like, or like the bike path or trail, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
is just so crowded. It was
Mm.
insane. It's never been that way that I've ever noticed it. So, be honest with you, for the first few weeks of COVID, when quarantine was really going on, we'd be out on Pacific Coast Highway and we just take a lane because there was very few cars and no people, so we'd just be riding down in the middle of the lanes doing our thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
I,
and I was just gonna add, like, I know how the bicycle industry is going, and same thing with the motorcycle industry, and people they literally can't keep motorcycles and bicycles in the doors. So, hopefully, it is really nice again, like I said, to see people out riding,
mm,
and hopefully, when we go back to a quote unquote new normal, that people will continue living a more active lifestyle and being out on two wheels.
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So has the motorcycle industry in general picked up because of COVID-19? Or are there more guys being out there on motorcycles or riding or buying bikes?
Yeah, as far as I understand, dealerships are in a good way struggling to keep bikes in the doors. They don't
Mm,
have enough inventory on the showroom floors right now, and I was over at a service shop a few weeks ago, picking up some parts. We were shooting some parts for the magazine in the studio here, and they were saying they're busy as ever. Just people, they have some time to kill, and they're getting their old dirt bikes out or their old street bikes out and getting them serviced, getting them up and running, and going riding again.
mm.
And hopefully, like I said, hopefully when we all go back to work and go back to new normal, that those things will continue on. It might be really great for the industry.
I want to touch on a little bit on the electric bikes you're talking about, the Harley Davidson, and
Yep.
what was the other one? The
Zero SRF.
Zero SRF, right? What is it like to ride a bike that makes no noise? Now I drive an electric car, so I kind
Okay.
of I like it, okay?
Yeah.
And I like it because it's, it's quiet. But on a bike, I like that feel of having an engine underneath me.
You know, I've always really enjoyed riding electric motorcycles from the get-go. I find that, of course you're going to lose the vibrations, you're going to lose the sound, you're going to lose quote unquote that soul of a motorcycle, but in a way it almost makes it really rad
Mm,
because, especially in California where we can lane split, um, and I live in Southern Orange County or in Orange County, where it's quite dense and maybe people get a little uptight about motorcycles.
yeah.
Uh, you can haul ass and people like no one cares because you're so quiet and you're not really drawing unnecessary attention to you. Um, and to be honest, like I don't think that they lack soul. I think that it's a little bit different of an experience. And you have to approach it as a different experience. I can say that range anxiety is a different thing than having fuel. There's in Orange County, it seems like we have a fuel stop on every single corner.
Hmm.
Well, the EV, I'll give you a really quick story. I was on the Harley Davidson Livewire when I was testing it, and there's different there's different types of charging systems. Well, level 2 is the most prominent in Orange County area, and that would charge the live wire in something like 8 or 10 hours. It's what you see in most of the parking lots at Costco or the grocery store, whatever it may be. Well, the Harley Davidson Livewire also has the capability of DC fast charging. Now, DC fast charging is even still here where you think might be the mecca of electric vehicles. Um, they're still kind of few and far between. So, anyways, I had the live wire and I was testing battery range and charging capabilities and everything like that. So I rode to a local mall where my magic box, my iPhone, said that there was a DC fast charge station. Well, I roll in there and I try and plug in, won't charge. It charges for like 2 seconds and then it stops. And I try it over and over and over and over again. Well, um, finally I just give up on it. So I think I wanted to roll in, if I remember correctly, I wanted to roll in to the charging station with 5% remaining. So I got a clean 95% and I could use that in my story. Um, so anyways, so I did a couple of extra laps around the block before I got in. So I'm at 5%. Well, I'm looking up the next nearest DC fast charge station. It's like, I want to say it's like 6 or 7 miles away and I'm 5 miles away. And
Right.
so I put this motorcycle in eco mode and I cruised down the street and I'm like rolling red lights at right hand turns, not running straight across, but you know what I mean? Like just trying
Yeah.
to keep momentum.
Yeah.
And I'm in the slow lane and people are blowing by me. And I literally rolled in, instead of fumes, I rolled in on sparks. Like
Right.
I pulled into this it was actually a gas station, funny enough, with
Yeah.
a DC fast charger in the parking lot.
Wow.
And it was kind of an ordeal. That said, though, like I really do enjoy the EV motorcycle riding experience, and I think that when the EV charging network becomes more prominent and available,
Mm.
it will be something that takes off. I think that we're years away from that, but it's coming for sure. But that's just my little story of EV riding.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I can imagine you doing like 20 miles fully tucked in, not breathing heavy, thinking
Right.
thin, thinking light. Yeah,
Right.
that's
No,
crazy.
you're describing it spot on for sure. I looked like a dummy going down the road.
We've all done that just for fun. You're doing like 20 and you're fully tucked in, and
Right.
your friends looking like, what the hell? Anyways, it's funny you should say that because I had a podcast just last week with a gentleman of Marco Santini.
Okay.
He works for NLX.
Hmm.
NLX is a European, I think it's a Italian company that is solving the problem of fast charging.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they produce fast chargers for the Moto E series.
Right.
That's gonna happen hopefully in a month.
Yep.
Long story short is that is a problem. Now I drive an EV, so I understand completely what you're saying, right?
Yep.
It's so you've seen this in like tweet after tweet after Instagram story of guys going, okay, I'm not going to get home unless I hit this fast charger, right? They hit the DC charger and there's already 4 guys waiting, or they get there and it doesn't work.
Right.
So it is to me, it is an issue.
I think it's an issue. When I look at buying a Harley Davidson Livewire, or I look at buying a Zero SRF, I don't think that you can expect to take these motorcycles on 150 or 200-mile rides like you can on a gasoline powered motorcycle. I think that your target audience is going to be a little bit different. It's probably going to be a tech guy that just wants the motorcycle because it's this latest technology. Now, if you're trying to get 100 miles out of it, which is about the cusp of range, I still think you're in the wrong boat. I think that it's something that you might ride around town, or you might ride to your office that's 10 miles away and back, plug it in overnight. I think that's just the mentality that sort of has to come with EV bikes. And I think right now, like seeing in the comments and the comments and the feedback that we get at Cycle World, people are still stuck on, well, it's got to do 150 miles. It's got to do just what everything that gasoline does. Well, we got to remember that 50, 60, 70 years ago, gasoline wasn't doing what it is now. So it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
So
now, let me ask you this. Is it easier or harder to maintain a wheelie? I'm assuming it's easier to get it up because of the torque.
Well, the only EV motorcycle that I've tried to wheelie was the Zero SRF, and that motorcycle, I want to say, is 525 pounds ready to ride. So it's a big motorcycle.
Yeah.
And it's scary, like legitimately scary, because the throttle is so touchy. It's so touchy. I was actually doing it for a photo shoot when my photographer, he was like, Michael, do a wheelie. And I did one, and I came in, I'm like, I ain't doing that again. That was a little nerve wracking. So it is difficult for sure.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. By the way, I can't wheelie for beans. I am a casual rider. So as you're talking, I'm like, you know what? That the electric bike is for me, because I am that poser. I am that squid that goes, I want to drive to my local coffee shop, right? Local coffee shop, put the helmet down, check out a couple of the, anyways, I'm married, so I'm not looking at anything. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm that guy who does very light cruising. I've never been the guy that says, hey, guys, we're going to do, 200 miles. We're going to ride the tail of the dragon. And, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I just want to go a little bit quick down the highway and come back, and I'm good. So,
well, you got to do tail of dragon, man. That's like one of my favorite roads I've ever ridden.
Yeah, I just think it's like too well known to the point where now it's just like I'm an old guy, so now I got to be safe, right? And I got to be safe because I'm married and everything else. So like I have to be safe for the family, right? And my parents are getting older. Someone's got to watch them, right?
Yeah.
So no tail of the dragon for me, unfortunately. Plus, I think as I age, I don't like riding in groups. I don't know about you. Do you still enjoy riding in groups with your buddies?
Well, I to be honest with you, so this is kind of funny too. Like, I didn't get my motorcycles license until the day before I started at Sport Rider magazine. That was the magazine before I've come to Cycle World. I didn't get it until the day before I started because I had to.
Right.
And so street riding, when I was growing up at the racetrack, all my friends are saying, well, we're never going to get our street license. We're going to never do this. And I was one of those kids too. And I think I'm probably the only one of all my friends that has a motorcycles license, that has an M1. When we do group rides, when I do group rides, it's either a select group of coworkers or it's a select group of other journalists. And so we all know each other and we all trust each other, and everyone is a professional rider in one way or another. So there just becomes this respect, and we can ride in a controlled fashion, and things are pretty tame. They're pretty tame. We like to have fun, but in a sense of control, everyone's in control and kind of doing their thing. And we keep it pretty small.
Yeah. No, I used to ride with a group of idiots, we'd be on the highway doing like 80, 90, and 80, 90 miles per hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers. And they'd come over and they'd like hit the, shut off engine shut off button, like idiotic stuff. Well, you got to do it once in a while, grabbing a break now and again, right? Or what the worst is, now I realize how much of an idiot I was. Like back in the day, you'd have a new rider, like second week on his, new R6. And we're like, okay, we're going to go to here. We're going to go to McDonald's at thingy and thingy, and he's like, okay, and then we'd be like, take
Right.
off, and he'd be
Ripping.
like, what the fuck? I can't
Yeah.
keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I won't do that. So, and so, Cycle World,
Yep.
it's got to be so much fun. How did you land that job? Other than that, you're articulate, you're a nice guy, and you can ride.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I feel like I've told this story once or twice in the last week.
Oh,
It's something I'll never forget. Um, I have a really great friend. His name is Bradley Adams. Bradley, he now works for Jana Media, which is Honda's PR agency or outlet. Um, and so he was at Sport Rider magazine. I don't know when this was, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so Bradley, he actually raced for the same team I grew up racing for as well, CM Motorsports or Cycle Mall. And so he and I kind of got to know each other a little bit. And one day I'm sitting in biology class in high school in like sophomore year, I want to say it is, maybe even freshman.
yeah.
And, I'm 16, 17, whatever I am. And Bradley texts me and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing next Wednesday, Thursday?" And I write back, "I'm in school, dude." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, you want to come out to Chuckwalla and help me test some motorcycles instead? Like I have a group test. It was a Suzuki GSXR 750, a Ducati Panigale 899, and a MV Agusta F3675. It was kind of like a middleweight plus group test. And so he
Right.
needed another rider. And so he goes, "Would you come out and ride these motorcycles?" Well, I go home and somehow I convince my parents that, I'm going to go skip school and I'm going to go out to Chuckwalla and lend a hand. And for some reason, they let me do it.
Yeah.
And so we went out there and did our thing and things went really well. And, he kept calling me every couple months. "Hey, I need a hand doing this test. Hey, I need a hand, you know. Um, and then it was like, well, hey, try writing this web story, real short, couple hundred words about this video of Valentino Rossi doing this. And then, hey, why don't you try these new boots for a week and just write me a little review on them. And so it kind of just progressed into a little bit more. And um, so Bradley, he had left Sport Rider and he went to Cycle World magazine, which is where I'm at now.
Right.
And I already had a relationship with his boss, then my future boss at the time, Kent Kanetsugu. And Kent called me, and I was lucky enough. I think I rode Cambobier's Superbike in 2016. And then he sent me to a press launch in Texas to ride a new Continental tire. And then he sent me to Spain to Motorland Aragon to ride a new Pirelli tire. And so I was doing that for him. And I was actually on my way home from Spain. And I believe I had a layover in Newark,
Hmm.
Jersey. And he sent me a text. Kent sent me a text and he goes, "Hey, there's a job application in your inbox in your email. Can you fill that out for me?" And I'm 19 years old at the time. And um, I've never taken a college class in my life, and I'm just, at that time I'd gotten out of high school, and I thought I'd just give it a year before I went to school to see how racing would go, and things went really well, so I was giving it another go. And so he sent me this basically a job offer, and how could I say no? And so yeah, I landed at Sport Rider, and Kento was a great boss. I really enjoyed working for him, and we did some cool stuff, and I was there for probably 2 years, and then Sport Rider shut its doors in September of 2017. So
Hmm.
I always say I took a year-long break and I did some freelance work and some SEO content production for various companies and some freelance work for other magazines as well, Cycle News, Cycle World, Revzilla, things like that. And then my boss now, Mark Hoyer, I was in Italy riding the Ducati Multistrada 1260 Enduro in October of 2018, that would have been. And he called me in the middle of the night. It was middle of the night over there. And he goes, "Hey, would you come back and work for us?" It's Bonnier Motorcycle Group owns Cycle World, Sport Rider, Motorcyclist, many Dirt Rider, many other brands. He goes, "Would you come
Hmm.
back and work for us?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And so I think I started a week later or something. And I've been back since. So I've been back here for almost 2 years now that I think about it. And yeah, we're just doing our thing and having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, now writing well is definitely an art and a skill and a great craft to have. Were you always leaned towards writing, or was it something that you were just kind of thrown to the wolves and had to do?
You know, it's kind of funny. I never really, you know, it. I don't want to say it was never something that I like doing, but I think that I've always been blessed with just good writing skills.
Mm,
It's even kind of funny. I was hanging out with my mom or someone the other day at home, and some reason some high school report cards came up, and they, you know, my teachers are saying something about, and you know, this has been, I don't even know, 6, 7 years now.
yeah,
Uh, and they're saying, "Oh, Michael's a proficient writer and this and that, blah blah." And I never really thought about it that way. Like I never even thought that I'd land, and so I think I've been a little naturally blessed
mm,
in writing, but I have learned a ton from my coworkers, my boss, Mark Hoyer. I really respect his writing and his constructive criticism with some things, and I really do try and read other journalists that I look up to and respect, and try and pick up things from them. But really it's kind of like, it's almost honestly like motorcycle racing. Like it's one of those things for me that like you do it and you're happy,
yeah,
but you're never satisfied.
yeah,
Like, okay, I get this story done, and yeah, that looks great. I'm happy with it. And then it goes, you know, it goes to print or it gets published, and then like a week later, I read it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I want that to be different and that to be different. You know, next time I'll do this and this and this. So it's one of those things that I strive to be better at all the time.
yeah. That's a hallmark of a winner, right? Genuinely, and I'm not kissing butt, but like I've seen this time and time again. No one that does well in life and well from an external viewpoint, like me looking at you, I'm like, you're doing pretty good for yourself. But nobody who's self-aware is ever happy with the work. I cannot tell you how many guys at the end of the podcast goes, "Oh my God, can we just redo this?" Like, why? It was a great conversation. Goes, no, no, no. I hated every word I said. I said, no, no, no. You don't understand. For the first 5 podcasts, I would not look at myself. So
Right,
I'm not a winner, but I'm in that same boat as like I'm very, very hypercritical and very
right.
self-aware of my things. And I always wish, man, I wish I could just say that better if I could go back
Yeah.
in and repeat, right?
Oh,
Now,
yeah, and it's the same thing. We all go through it, and you know, I've really strived to be better on camera. Now, obviously, in media, it's not just the magazine, it's not just articles. It's, you know, we have different shows and things. So I 100% understand that. I'm always trying to better myself, and there's old videos that I don't even want to watch. Like I wish we could just pull them down from the internet. 'Cause I'm like,
yeah.
who is this kid? You know? And why is he stuttering and why is he doing this? I like to think I've gotten a little bit better since then, but yeah, it takes a lot of hard work, and sometimes you're not so comfortable with it, and you just keep plugging away and it comes.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. Were you then an avid reader as a kid? Did you read a lot?
Maybe motorcycle magazines, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have always enjoyed reading, and I still do enjoy reading outside of magazine or
Right.
outside of media. But you know, was I an avid reader? Maybe not
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Now I'm a lot older than you for sure. Okay. I won't reveal my age, but I'm definitely a lot older. And I remember reading the motorcycle magazines even in the mid 2000s, right?
Yeah,
And I remember they were like the best. I remember like I was going to visit my parents one time in Hong Kong, and before I got on a plane, I bought like every magazine,
yeah.
like motorcycle magazine. That's when I was really into bikes. Okay, and I'm not really into bikes anymore. Like I don't go and look at new bikes. Um, and I remember like I was really excited. Okay, but that has obviously changed in 2020. How hard is it now to run a publication successfully, without getting too
Um,
much in the weeds, obviously?
yeah, things have changed a lot, you know. It's you know, it's much more than just doing, like I said, just writing articles for a magazine at this day and age. You know, we have videos, we have podcasts, we have YouTube shows. Um, y- there's a lot to it, and I really think that, you know, since the internet and the web has become a thing, everyone wants information like that. uh,
Mm,
Now we really strive to be very accurate in our facts and everything else, so sometimes it takes us a little bit more time, and there's other people that try and get it up as quick as possible. Well, I've always kind of been more of a quality over quantity guy. Yes, things have changed a lot, and thankfully it seems like we're we're doing pretty successful. Even our print magazine, I have actually issue 2 of Cycle World here, sitting right with me now that I see it. And our print magazine's actually doing really well, and it's something that I really take pride in. It's obviously varied away from maybe being a traditional magazine. It just fell off the cubicle right here and onto the ground. But it's kind of varied away from being an old school traditional magazine. And sometimes I almost look at it as a high quality coffee table book. We ship 4 a year. It's not a monthly thing anymore, or even bi-monthly for that matter. But we do put a lot of work into it, and it seems to be doing really well, and advertising is going well, and it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting business to be a part of in media, because I don't think media is changing so quickly. It seems like it's changing by the week. One week, I call them the fans. My boss will probably call them the audience or the readers. But I like to call them the fans. The fans want something new and they want this one week, and then they want this the next week. So no one ever really knows what they want, and it's changing so quick. So you have to very quickly adapt to it.
Yeah, and in this time of coronavirus and everything else, one thing I've noticed is that there's a lot to be said for physical medium or
Mm-hmm.
physical media, right? That I was babysitting my niece and nephew, and I was helping them do homework.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, everything's all Zoom based or online based
Right.
and web based. And they weren't engaged. But when I said, okay, we've done enough computer stuff, let's go and take out the traditional math books
Yep.
and workbooks or whatever. And I said, okay, work on these. And I felt they were more engaged. And I
Yep.
think that's the same with print media
Yep.
versus just a web story, right?
Yeah, I feel like I have a different take on it, because I like to call myself, I like to call myself a little bit of an old soul. And maybe I like to think, again, I'm a little bit beyond my 23 years, and so I like having something physical. I like being able to flip pages in a magazine and be able to
Yeah.
look at art, and I really appreciate um, being in the business. I really appreciate looking at other magazines, how much work goes into actually laying something out. To me, it's much more engaging. Um, so, you know, but I also feel like I'm one of a select few. I know that typically my generation, they want to see videos and vlogs and whatever it may be. Um, and the older or a generation above me, they still like picking up magazines like I do, and hopefully, I think that's with our little bit of gear switch to ship a quarterly coffee
Mm.
table, in a sense, magazine. Hopefully this will get in the hands of a younger generation as well, and also um, uh, fulfill the desires of that original generation who grew up reading these magazines. So yeah.
It really is, and I mean, it's not like I invented this copy, but I mean
Yeah.
this whatever. But I mean, it is really like fast food versus the gourmet, 10-course meal, right? When you look at headlines now, you're literally just scanning through headlines, and you maybe hit one or two articles. That's what I'm like with local news, right? I'll just look at the headlines and go, okay, whatever. But when you pick up a magazine, you read it because you've purchased it. And maybe I'm a cheap ass, right? Maybe my
I
Asianness is in
feel
me.
like you
Uh,
get all
I
the
will literally read every single
yeah.
word, everything. I will look at the ad very, very carefully, read the words. I will look at the advertisements in the end and go through that because I've invested my time and money
Totally.
into it,
Yeah.
right? So I actually think this idea of the coffee table book or magazine really, really makes sense.
Yeah, I like to think so too. I think that again, when you click on a web page, it's so easy to get out of and forget about and never think about it again. But having a print magazine like this, like, it's something that's in your hands, it's physical, like you say, and you do feel a little bit invested in it.
Mm.
And hopefully, we can continue on doing it. We'll see.
Is there a different way you have to write the story, print versus online? Now let me preface this with everybody knows that a lot of the not motorcycle news, but a lot of other news, everything clickbaity. Even New York Times, which is traditionally known as one of the most revered publications around, they're very clickbaity in their articles now, right? Uh, is that something you have to change or adjust?
Yeah, yes and no. I think I think that traditionally web stories will be a little bit shorter because I think that the attention span of people, of the audience reading it, and just scrolling, I think, computers, to me, it hurts my eyes. And so, I don't really want to spend too much time looking at it. So traditionally, I think web stories are a little bit shorter, a little bit more condensed, more to the point, and just kind of get it across very quickly. That said, the print is kind of difficult to work with because it's something that you only have so much space.
Mm,
When I'm sitting down in a meeting today, we're planning issue 3 of 2020. I have 14 pages to write this upcoming comparison. Well, 14 pages, that means I only have, maybe 2,500 words, which, when it comes down to a really cool story with a couple cool motorcycles and we did this cool journey to experience them, I want to share with you guys everything. But that also, to me, is like kind of a sign of a good rider, being able to get across that point in a condensed version and still be able to share that entire experience.
yeah.
Uh, so yes, things are a little bit different, but at the core of it, things do remain quite the same as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I just thought of something totally random that I never thought
Okay.
of before. Now, have you ever seen the TV show Top Gear?
Yes,
Or
of
you heard?
course.
Why don't we have Top Gear with motorcycles? Can't we take that format and translate?
So we've tried. So if you go on YouTube, or on motorcyclistonline.com, which is a sister publication of Cycle World, we have a show on YouTube called On Two Wheels.
Okay.
And so our previous colleagues, Ari Henning and Zach Quartz, they started this show years ago. And they do adventures and they do things beyond just testing motorcycles, and go somewhere and also test a motorcycle, or go try this journey on Groms, and ride across the desert or whatever it may be.
Right.
And so when Zach and Ari had left Bonnier Motorcycle Group and they've gone on to other ventures, um, myself, Adam Wahid, senior editor of Motorcyclist, Justin Dawes, senior editor of Cycle World, and Morgan Gales, he's the custom and culture editor for the group and Cruiser. Um, we've taken on this show as our own, and you know we've done these cool journeys where um, the first episode, to introduce the new cast, we all showed up on motorcycles that represented us, so, or like our individual characteristics, and we were told we were going to do these challenges, and so I showed up on a Ninja H2, and
Nice.
Justin Doss, he showed up in a Ural sidecar, and Morgan, he showed up on an Indian, I think, and Adam was on something else, but we went flat tracking, so I'm on a street bike, he's in a sidecar. We rode through the dirt. We did a drag strip run. We did all these different things. We did a fuel challenge. Like, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, I mean, I like to think that we could fulfill some of that Top Gear has created, where it's an interest in cars, but it's also sort of this other story and this other entertaining, not comedy, but it's just an entertaining show to watch. And hopefully, we get to shoot some more on two wheels this year. I know that we have some cool ideas coming up, and hopefully we can get them to you guys sooner rather than later.
Awesome idea. I knew you'd already have a great answer for that. I'm
Yeah.
like, we're already doing it, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Now,
We're
uh,
trying.
I'm looking behind you. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, nice bikes, by the way.
Yep.
Okay. Now let me ask you a personal question about
Got it.
bikes. Do you have a unicorn bike? And that is to say, here's a bike I would love to have, but I will never own it. No matter how good of an opportunity for me to buy this, I will never buy it. Do you have one?
Hmm. Um, that's really difficult to say because, if I were to buy a motorcycle, it would probably be something, it would probably be a street bike. It would probably be a road license motorcycle. Um, and again, like, I enjoy riding on the road and it's my job, but I'm not particularly fond of commuting on it,
Mm,
and you know, but if there was a motorcycle, man, I've had a couple fun motorcycles in the last couple months at Cycle World. Ducati Street Fighter V4S, the
yeah.
biggest, baddest naked bike. Man, that thing is sick. Like, it really is a really cool stripped down version of the Ducati Panigale, and I think that Ducati, I have to give them credit because I think they did a really great job. You know, I'm not particularly a fan of the Panigale.
Mm.
You know, just in my testing experience, I've just always found that it's never quite settled, and it's never that motorcycle that I have a ton of confidence in, and that I, you know, when we go on these tests, by the end of the, you know, we're all switching bikes and we're doing our thing, and usually by the time we ride home, or by the time it's done, there's always one bike that no one wants to get on. And to me, you know, I don't want to sound too harsh saying this, but maybe that was the Ducati Panigale, the super bikes, just always hot and
Mm.
a monster of a bike in not a good way, to me at least.
Sure.
Street Fighter V4, I think they crushed it. I think everything that I was nervous about when I threw a leg over it the first time, I think they did a really, really good job, and it hauls ass. And you could go to the racetrack on it and just, like, you could smoke some people at track days on it, and I think you'd have a lot of fun. Another motorcycle that I was very impressed with recently was the KTM 890 Duke R. It's a new motorcycle. They released the 790 Duke about a year and a half ago, and when the 890 Duke came out, for only $1,000 more than the 790, we kind of looked at it and like, why was the 790 ever even made? You know, like
Yeah.
it had a little bit more grunt. It had an adjustable fork. It had all these little features that we were kind of looking for in the 790. And so I can't even tell you how much fun we had on these, and maybe some rules were broken on the road, and
Allegedly.
like me and my coworker Adam Wahid, we just had a blast on these bikes, and I think it's a good value too. So, you know, maybe down the road when, you know, my life settles down and maybe I need a road license bike, maybe something like a KTM 890 Duke would be the answer.
Yeah. Now, we're talking about like 15 years ago, right? 15 years ago,
Uh,
you'd be able to pick up a magazine and they would always do long-term tests, and they would say this part broke, that part broke, we had to replace
yep.
the wheel, tire, or whatever. Sooner or later, in 2020, are bikes more reliable than ever before, or is the electronics getting in the way?
Well, it's honestly so funny that you say this, because we were at the office, or I'm at the office still, but we're at the office this morning, and my coworker Justin, we had some some keyboard warriors, I don't remember where it was, on the site or YouTube or something, saying you guys are on the payroll of this company and all you do is praise all these bikes. You haven't had criticism of any of these motorcycles in the last 10 years or 15 years, whatever it was.
Right.
Now, let me back up and say we do criticize motorcycles. But I also think that motorcycles, it's becoming much harder to criticize them. I think that motorcycle development and technology has really is head and shoulders and above what it was even 10 years ago.
Mm.
And, you know, so yes, there are things that still bug us, and there's definitely things that we need to point out to our readers and say, you know, I'd rather buy this one over this one for this reason. Now, are things breaking like they used to? No, not really. I can't ever really remember even my time in Sport Rider or Cycle World that we really had something ever like seriously let go or break. I think,
Yeah.
like I said, just the quality of manufacturing and everything that's gone into it in 2020, I wouldn't really expect things to break. If I'm being honest, I'd be bummed. So, no, I think that things are definitely more reliable.
Yeah, that was actually something I was talking to Rob Silva about, who's
Okay.
also a Kawasaki test rider, and I'm like, so what do you? Is it performance? He goes, no, no, we just ride until something breaks, and I didn't ask him at the time, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that means never, because
Yeah.
like bikes just don't give up the
Right.
ghost like they did.
Yeah. Totally. Did I lose you, Eric?
Oh, I hate the no, internet is well, I don't know what the WTF.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that.
No, all good.
We'll edit out. Oh gosh, that's now it says poor connection on my end again. You know what, dude? I need to get a new router. I think that's the problem. No, no, honestly,
Yeah.
this is the second time it's happened,
Yeah.
but it's definitely on my side, and I have a decent connection. Um, let me ask you this
Yep.
before the internet completely dies. Um, criticizing a manufacturer or particular bike. Now, as an amateur journalist, okay, not the professional guys like you, but as an amateur guy, you know, the number one thing we worry about is, man, if we give a bad review, they're not going to send me stuff to review anymore. Is that a thing?
You know, I think that it's yes. You know, at my journalistic integrity, I have to give you an answer. I have to be able to say, yes, this is what the motorcycle did, and I'm going to tell you about it. I'm not going to name the motorcycle that I have in the office, but there is a motorcycle that I'll be reviewing shortly that, you know, it does have its own issues, and you know, I have to write about it. That's my job, and I have to be honest with you guys. I'm not going to go tell you that this motorcycle for $5,500, you should go buy this thing if you expect a motorcycle that has everything dialed. There's definitely some things that need some work on. But yes, you know, certain manufacturers are more critical of things like that than others. Um, and, you know, it really needs to come, you know, when I do write something, I like, you know, I don't like to, but we have data to back it up. You know, we have issues. We have these experiences, and as a group, we have a lot of it, years behind this to where when we do say something doesn't work or has failed on us or whatever it may be, there is integrity to it for sure. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because from what I've heard from the tech world, I know from the tech world, what I've seen on YouTube and stuff is that they basically said you cannot worry about that. You cannot worry about what the manufacturers say. You can only tell the truth, and the truth will set you free in that sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, totally, and it goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier too, of you know, people saying, well, you're on X manufacturer's payroll, or, you know, they're advertising with you because of this. Well, you know, if we wanted to do it that way, we'd just be social media influencers, right? And there's that out there in the motorcycle industry too. Um, so, you know, I think that just sticking to your guns, and again, I think at Cycle World we're very lucky, and we uh, we have the opportunity to actually test motorcycles and not just do first rides and things like that. So we actually get to spend some time with motorcycles and run them on the dyno and do this and this and this, to where, yeah, we have the data to back it up, and you can't really be worried about it as long as you have that explanation as to why you said that. um, there's no reason, you know, there's no reason to be scared about it.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
you
true.
know,
Yep.
it's I don't mean to jump in, but you know, I feel like I get recognized more for my time at Cycle World and Sport Rider than I do as my professional racing career. I have people have literally stopped me in the airport, or they've stopped me places saying, "Oh, you're Michael Gilbert from Cycle World. You said this, and this about the Aprilia RSV4 1100 factory at Thunder Hill, and it has 189.9 horsepower, and it did this lap time, it did a 53.2, and it has these components. And you said that, you know, the throttle connection is, you know, it's very raw, but at the same time controlled. And you also said that the BMW S1000 you had there is very numb, and it feels like it's very electronically controlled. So people take word for this, and people go and buy motorcycles or don't buy motorcycles because of our words and what we say about them. So yeah, you have to be completely honest with it. And
Yeah.
you know what I really try and get across in my writing, and something I've really learned from my boss Mark Hoyer, is writing as if you're sitting here talking to my buddy. If I'm sitting here talking to Eric, that's how it's going to be. I'm not going to give this guy an answer and this guy an answer. It's all going to be the same thing, and that's the truth. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to go tell my buddy that this bike that he really wants is sick, even though it's not, or I had this bad experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, I agree, and that is why I like the Honda. I mean, for no other reason than I'm as quick as you can. Like, you know, Hondas are the easiest to ride, and like, okay, well, in that case, I might as well get up to speed, you know, and
yeah,
Hondas are easy to ride, then there I go. And so, yeah, That does makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. And I think that there's give and takes, and each manufacturer kind of has their own uh, qualities to them. And yeah, that's something that you recognize too. Like Hondas are very user friendly, and I'm going to say that. And some other manufacturers, they might have more performance, but it also comes with this little extra cost of whatever it may be. So yeah.
Yeah, so you're now racing on a Kawasaki.
Yep.
Have you always been racing Kawasaki's, by the way?
No, we were racing the 600 Super Sport class for many, many years, and I was racing Yamaha YZF-R 6s. And we, really since the beginning of my professional career, we were on Yamaha R6s for a long time. 2019 was actually the first time I had ridden thousands in the past, but we stepped up to actually race 1000s in MotoAmerica, and that came with a switch to Kawasaki. And Kawasaki has a very generous contingency program that allows us to bring in some money and supplement the cost of racing, and really keep us on the grid and obviously the motorcycle is pretty damn good too, right out of the showroom floor. So there's not a ton that we have to do to it, and we've found success in it, and we have some ties to Kawasaki as well. But yeah.
That's amazing. I was talking to in the past in my previous podcast, one of the themes I had was one of the questions I always asked was, why isn't motorcycle more popular than it is, right? And everybody's giving me different reasons, like racing. Okay, by the way, racing, not just riding. Racing, why isn't it more popular? And there's tons of theories, right? To being we don't have an established route for youngsters to step up. Now we do with the mini that solves and many reasons. Now, I think with coronavirus and with quarantine, this is the time to really
I'm losing you slightly there.
and get the general. Sorry, can you hear me? I saw it says connection
It's
sucked.
like,
It says lost
yeah,
connection.
now you're good. Like it just goes,
Okay.
and then I'm like trying to hear you, and okay, I know what he's saying, and then I'll just answer,
Yeah.
but now it's fine.
Okay, I'll go back to it. Yeah. So right. How do we make motorcycle or MotoAmerica more popular? It is the right time to do so, right? No other professional sports other than maybe the UFC is racing or is
Right.
hosting events, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
And
it's getting people just interested in it. Obviously, our numbers have done really well. Our TV numbers and everything else, they have done really well since I think we were the first professional motorcycle series back on national television. Maybe Supercross beat us by just a little bit. Um, I think that it's a very grassroots thing, though, too. I think that we need to just get people back on motorcycles in general, whether they're interested in racing or not. Um, and that's what's really going to help our sport. I think, it's a full circle. Everyone says, well, you don't sell motorcycles unless you go racing. Well, you don't go racing unless you sell motorcycles.
that's
So,
right.
I think that it is a very grassroots thing, and I think that there's many factors. I think that motorcycling has become a little bit more expensive than it was in the past, and the people that the generation that was riding 15, 20, 25 years ago, when sport bike sales especially were just booming, and 15,000 GSXRs were selling a year, or 15,000 GSXRs were selling a year. Um, those guys are aging out. I think that maybe the motorcycle market has become a little diluted in that sense, to where, again, 15 years ago, if you wanted a sport bike, you went and bought a 600 or a 1000.
Right.
Well, and they're super sport bikes, they're fairing bikes. Now you can go buy a 300, a 400, a 600, a 750, a 1000. You can buy a 1200. You can buy them with upright bars. You can buy them with super sport bars. You can buy them with bags. You can buy them with this. You can buy them with that. So, I think that it's become a little bit diluted in that sense. And when you get guys that maybe go and buy that adventure bike, or they buy something with bags, the marketing, the whatever doesn't draw them into racing like it did in the
Mm,
past,
mm.
so they didn't already have that connection. Um, Now, getting children and getting kids on motorcycles again sort of has to go with that with that same ideology, is that, you know, I think that the generation that has kids now that are eligible to race and kind of in that zone, that or that age group that we need, maybe they weren't so involved in motorcycling, but their parents were. Um, so, you know, I would love to see kids get on motorcycles. I think, you know, a lot of people, a lot of soccer moms like to bag on it and say it's dangerous and it's
Right.
that and
Yeah.
blah blah. But really, when I look back at my life, it's been so rewarding and so many things that, you know, I created my own resume when I'm 12 years old, and I was cold calling sponsors to get tire warmers and this and
Wow.
that. Like it I feel has really matured me a lot quicker, and that's part of the reason that, you know, I have had a 5 or 6 year career, and I'm 23 years old, and I'm kind of just going off into this whole other business. So I feel like, you know, there's so many more opportunities and benefits to racing, and those responsibilities that come with it, um, that hopefully lead to more than just the fun factor of it.
Another gun. Yes.
Are we back?
I was just scrapping out. My bad. My
Yeah,
side for sure.
it's all
Okay,
good.
you're back.
Work.
Oh shoot. I was so l- focused on this poor connection business. Was that I heard was you'd wish you'd get more kids getting back into riding with the soccer moms, and then
Yeah, I mean, I just you know,
no, yeah,
there's the soccer moms and you know, some, I think that people are very sheltered nowadays. And you know, keep me if I'm running on. Yeah, I think I understand
no,
your question, but I think that people are very sheltered now, and it's a dangerous sport, which it is. There's high risk, but there's also very high reward. And what I was saying is, like, you know, I think that all the responsibility that came with it when I'm 12, 13, 14 years old, I had to have all A's to go racing. I was cold calling my own sponsors, and and created my own resume, and you start learning business skills and life skills far beyond just racing motorcycles, that I think it is very positive. And when I look back at my life, I'm very thankful, because it's kind of just created this whole other career and opportunity for me outside of racing motorcycles that I guarantee you I probably wouldn't have had if I was just doing the normal kid thing. Or and you know, I just find it very interesting. I find it very interesting. I'm very, very thankful for it. I haven't lived the normal life growing up, especially being on the road and traveling. And, you know, I don't have a ton of friends at home. I don't get to go out, and I don't get to do this, and I don't get to do that, because I'm always on the road at races or at the racetrack teaching, whatever it may be. Um, but looking at it in the grand scheme of things, like, I have a lot of really good friends and people that are surrounding me, and especially people that are older than me, that have some years on me, and I can really look to them and learn a lot, beyond just the motorcycle business. You know, I think if there's one thing that I've done halfway decent in my life, is surround myself with good people, and that really has come down to motorcycling.
dude,
No,
I had
all
such
good.
an amazing time
Yeah.
talking to you. Now, how do we follow you on social media? How do we connect with you online?
Yeah, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, Michael underscore Gilbert 55. I have the Facebook fan page, Michael Gilbert Racing. You know, I kind of spread myself out through all that, and if you guys could give me a follow, that'd be rad. I like hearing from all you guys, and meeting you guys at the racetrack. It's a lot of fun for me, and yeah, I give a follow to Cycle World Magazine. Grab a magazine, grab a print issue,
Yeah.
and follow us on YouTube. I'm also on motorcyclistonline.com, motorcyclist YouTube channel. I help out with the MC commutes and get to review motorcycles as I ride to the office, and the on two wheel show that we talked about. So yeah, just all of our outlets on Cycle World and Motorcyclist, that'd be great.
I will link all that in your notes. I will be very honest, even that was a little bit choppy on
Yeah.
my end. So again, how do they pick it up? Is there a place they can go to pick it up?
That the magazine. I think finding them at the bookstore or even sometimes the grocery store. I see them in the airport. Grab a copy of Cycle World magazine. Issue 3 will be shipping mid to late August, so that'll probably be hitting the newsstands early September, and we got some cool stuff coming for that. So just stay tuned. Yep.
I'd hope to talk to you again once my internet improves. So
Yeah,
in that vein, I'll let.
I would love to do it. Let's plan on doing this again, and hopefully we can have a little bit better connection and a little bit better flow. But no, I really enjoyed this, and thank you so much for having me.